In life's greatest lessons, simplicity often hides profound wisdom. Think about how we spend just 1 hour, 60 minutes that slip away scrolling our phones, stuck in traffic, or chatting without purpose. Most people don't respect an hour because it seems too ordinary. But those who transform their lives know what an hour can do when used with fierce focus. The hour rule isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter. Investing one focused hour every single day on learning, building skills, planning, or pushing toward a dream. 1 hour consistently turns the impossible into achievable. Because time doesn't care who we are, it rewards those who use it wisely. When most people think about success, they imagine grand achievements, overnight breakthroughs, or a stroke of luck that catapults someone to the top. But in reality, success is often hidden inside the quiet routine of daily discipline. The concept of dedicating just one disciplined hour every single day may sound small, even insignificant, yet that 1 hour has been the secret weapon of countless successful people across every industry and craft. There is a massive gap between people who treat time casually and those who guard it like treasure. When a person makes the intentional decision to reserve 1 hour each day purely for growth, learning, and meaningful work, something powerful begins to happen beneath the surface. That 1 hour becomes a protective shield against distractions, excuses, and the endless noise of life that so often steals dreams away from us before we even realize it. It becomes a signal to your mind that you are serious about your future, and that you are willing to pay the small, but consistent price it demands. Over weeks, months, and years, that hour works like compound interest. Think of it not as minutes, but as hours every year solely focused on bettering yourself. That's more than 15 full days of focused work that can be completed without sacrificing your job, your family, or your health. It is the disciplined 1 hour that begins to sharpen the differences between a person who only wishes for success and a person who is actively building it. Most people underestimate what one disciplined hour can do because they are trapped inside the myth that big change requires big action. But success does not come from sudden explosions of productivity. It comes from a steady, relentless drip of effort. Every day you give 1 hour to your goals, you reinforce the habit of showing up. You train your brain that progress is non-negotiable. And because you are not depending on motivation, which rises and falls unpredictably, you are creating a system that keeps moving regardless of how you feel. This is where mediocrity slowly gets pushed out of your life. Mediocrity survives in chaos, inconsistency, and lack of focus. It loves empty promises and grand resolutions that burn brightly for a few days only to disappear. But mediocrity cannot survive when confronted with discipline. If you wake up every day and give your undivided attention to the same skill, project, or dream for just 1 hour, you are forming a mindset of excellence. You begin to feel uncomfortable falling short, because that disciplined hour reveals your potential in small doses every day. Over time, that transformation becomes visible not only to you, but to the world around you. People will start noticing that you have grown sharper, more knowledgeable, more creative, and more confident. And while they may attribute it to some special talent or unseen opportunity, you will know it came from the simple act of protecting 1 hour every day and refusing to let anything take it away. That one disciplined hour also teaches patience. Instead of becoming frustrated by slow progress, you begin to appreciate the process itself. You understand that mastery is not a gift given to a select few, but something earned through countless invisible hours of deliberate practice. By faithfully returning each day to that hour, you are silently telling the universe you are ready for responsibility and opportunity. And opportunities love disciplined people because they can be trusted to handle them. When you commit to the 1 hour rule, You start using time like a tool, not a burden. You can break down what seems like a huge mountain into tiny pieces of rock that can be moved slowly but surely. For someone learning a language, it becomes manageable when you know you only need to show up for 1 hour, study vocabulary, speak, and write without distraction. For someone building a business, that hour becomes a sacred moment to think strategically, reach out to customers, or refine a product. Over weeks, you notice your 1 hour of discipline creeping into everything else you do. Your overall focus improves. Your laziness loses its grip. You become more aware of how much time you actually waste on things that do not matter. And that awareness makes you stronger, more disciplined, and more hunger-driven. People around you may not understand at first. They may question why you miss out on casual social gatherings, or why you prefer to wake up early or stay up late just to keep your hours safe. They may even laugh or call it obsessive. But quietly, you understand the truth. Mediocrity laughs at discipline because it is afraid of being exposed. The moment you allow your hour to get interrupted or sacrificed, you begin to slip back into that average zone where nothing grows and no true progress happens. But when you stand firm and say, "This hour belongs to my dream," you set a boundary that lifts you slowly into a different league. Time starts working for you, not against you. One disciplined hour a day is not glamorous. It often feels repetitive, lonely, or slow. But it builds something inside you that money and luck can't buy: self-trust. You begin to believe in your own commitments and your ability to show up, even when distractions scream for your attention. And that shift in identity from someone who hopes to someone who executes is what steadily pulls you out of mediocrity, carrying you closer and closer to the success most only admire from afar. When people imagine the path to greatness, they often picture dramatic gestures: staying awake for 3 nights straight, working out until exhaustion, studying nonstop, or launching a massive project with all their energy and excitement poured into it. Intensity is exciting and makes us feel powerful in the moment. But because it burns so brightly, it also fades quickly. The trouble with relying on intensity is that life rarely stays stable enough for us to maintain that level of energy forever. There are always unpredictable moments: sickness, family issues, mental burnout, or simple fatigue that disrupt bursts of intense effort. Those who depend on intensity burn through their motivation fast. They sprint hard at the beginning, dazzling everyone with their passion, but soon they disappear, exhausted, discouraged, and wondering where their energy went. In contrast, consistency is often quiet, almost invisible. It does not make headlines or impress people quickly. But consistency carries a special power that intensity simply cannot compete with. When a person commits to showing up day after day, regardless of how big or small the effort feels, they begin to create unstoppable momentum in their life. Consistency is the engine behind true mastery. It is easy to study for 10 hours in one day when inspiration hits, but real transformation comes from studying 1 hour every day for months or years. That is because the habit strengthens your brain, your discipline, and your skill. You are not depending on occasional bursts of lightning. You are building your own storm cloud that will pour down every day. Over time, the small daily actions add up in ways that surprise people who only look for instant results. A person who writes 500 words every day, without fail, will end up with an entire book before someone else who waits for a perfect weekend of inspiration. The same applies to building your body, saving money, strengthening a relationship, or developing a business. Consistency creates a rhythm that becomes unbreakable. It turns work into instinct and goals into lifestyle. The real strength of consistency is that it makes discipline a natural part of you. Imagine brushing your teeth. It is not exciting, but you do it every day without question. That is the kind of automatic behavior consistency builds around your goals. Once the habit is formed, it protects you from the temptation of skipping days just because you are tired, bored, or distracted. People respect a person who is reliable more than someone who is brilliant but unpredictable. Consistency creates trust, both internally and externally. Internally, you begin to believe in yourself because you have proof of your commitment. You do not need to hype yourself up every time. You simply follow your routine. Externally, others begin to believe in you because they see your dedication, even when the spotlight is not on you. This credibility opens doors, invites new opportunities, and gives you an advantage over the many people who come in with a burst of excitement only to vanish soon after. Another powerful truth about consistency is that it irons out the emotional ups and downs that normally hold people back. Everyone experiences waves of motivation. Sometimes we feel unstoppable. Other times we can barely move. If you only work when you feel motivated, your progress will be unstable and unpredictable. But if you work consistently, regardless of your mood, you begin to teach yourself that your goals are non-negotiable. This mindset shift gives you emotional stability. Consistency beats intensity because it keeps going when motivation dies. With time, your emotional lows become shorter and less destructive because your consistent habits act like a safety net, catching you until you bounce back naturally. Progress becomes smoother, steadier, and more sustainable. Consistency also gives you clarity. When you do something every day, you start noticing small improvements. Those small improvements give you feedback about what is working and what is not. You are able to adjust your strategies without panic, making tiny tweaks instead of dramatic overhauls. Someone chasing intensity often tries something extreme, fails, and then completely changes direction because they believe the approach is broken. A consistent person slowly refines their method, leading to mastery. Pleasure and satisfaction begin to come not from reaching the final goal, but from watching yourself stick to the path regularly. That shift makes the journey more enjoyable and less stressful. Consistency teaches patience and humility. It forces you to respect the slow process of growth, rather than demanding immediate rewards. This patience protects you from frustration and giving up. While others are busy comparing themselves to overnight successes, the consistent person focuses only on their daily actions, trusting that results will come when the time is right. The truth is, most people actually have enough talent to succeed, but they lack the consistency to use that talent long enough to see results. They jump from one intense attempt to another, with long gaps of inactivity in between. But consistency slowly enlarges your capacity until you can handle things that once seemed impossible. Tasks that once caused stress become simple. Skills that once felt intimidating become natural. Over time, your baseline level of performance rises so much that even on your worst day, you perform better than most people do on their best day. That is the hidden advantage of consistency. Because your growth is steady, your skill becomes deeply rooted inside you instead of floating on the surface like intense bursts often do. Consistency is not exciting at the start, but it eventually becomes unstoppable. While intensity relies on emotion, consistency is powered by character. While intensity boasts loudly in the beginning, consistency wins quietly in the long run. People often talk about money, education, connections, and even luck as the greatest assets in life, ignoring the one thing that truly determines everything: time. Unlike money, time cannot be earned back once it is spent. Unlike opportunities, It does not wait around until you are ready. We all receive the same 24 hours each day, but the difference between success and failure comes down to how seriously individuals treat those hours. If someone handed you a large amount of cash every morning and warned you that whatever you did not use wisely would disappear forever at midnight, you would likely guard that money with your life, planning each expense with intense care. Yet most people let their days drift by casually, unaware that time is actually worth far more than any currency in circulation. When you begin to see time as your most valuable currency, your entire approach to life shifts in a powerful way. You stop agreeing to random distractions. You stop giving your attention away to meaningless conversations